Hello, and thank you for tuning in again live. Today is Monday, January 22nd. It is 12 o'clock noon, and you are currently watching the Skill Building Monday drawing group hosted by me, Jason Leeser. And if this is working for you, please drop us a comment, hit that like button, let us know in the chat, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. Maybe it's someone trying to get their first tattoo or someone that wants to become a tattoo artist. Maybe it's someone that just likes art. Tag everyone that you know that you think might be interested in this show and help us get the word out. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as the Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, the Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which has 12 to 15 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as well as all of the major podcast directories such as Apple and Spotify. Or you can do what most people do and just open up your browser and do a quick search for Reinventing the Tattoo, and you'll find it all, except for the book, which is still currently out of print. But no matter where you are watching live or on demand, you can always get the latest, most up-to-date information, all available at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. You can try it out for free. We have 3 different options. You do not have to subscribe right away. The 3 options are: first, a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo canon. Second option is to get some free advice from Guy Aitchison about your unique goals. And the third is a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown, which, if you are a fellow tattoo history nerd such as myself, then you will absolutely love that course. Trust me, it is absolutely worth it. Incredible amount of knowledge located in the tattoo history course. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full event schedule with full weekly and special event live stream details, which does include details for this show. Should you decide that you want to jump on and maybe join us one day, you can find a link in our calendar to join the live event from there. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find access to our Reinventing 24/7 channel, which is a lot like our Roku channel. It's got 13 different episodes playing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can also find a host of professional development courses from over 20 world-class tattoo artists. This includes things like Bob Tyrell's Skull Seminar, Andre Malcolm's Koi Seminar, BJ Bett's 3-hour lettering guide, all available at reinventingthetattoo.com. Once again, if this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chat, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. We have a number of weekly staple shows that we always encourage people to tune into. Starting off the week at 9 a.m. on Mondays, we have Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies to help us get back to our roots of being a fine artist in this field. It covers a whole bunch of different topics. Earlier today, we talked about perspective and foreshortening, but it could be any number of things, such as breaking things down into simple shapes, starting off with your basics and building from there. Once again, that is Monday mornings at 9 a.m., Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom. Following that, on Mondays at 12 noon, we have the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group, which you are currently watching with me, Jason Leeser, where we go through and discuss a whole bunch of different topics pertaining to being a tattoo artist, working in the field. Maybe it's travel plans. Sometimes it's convention coverage. We discuss a whole bunch of different stuff here on Skill Building Monday, but it all ties together with building up your skill set. Following Skill Building Monday with me at noon on Mondays, at 9 p.m., we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew from the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. Now, this is only available if you have a Reinventing the Tattoo Evolution or Reinventing the Tattoo Canon subscription. Trust me when I say, coming from personal experience, the Monday evening drawing groups alone are worth the cost of that subscription. You can see a notable difference in the work that I'm putting out now from when I first started with Reinventing the Tattoo. And the longer you stick with it, the better you're going to get. Each week, we cover a different topic in the Reinventing the Tattoo canon. But once again, you will only have access to the 9 p.m. drawing group with Sandy McAndrew if you have a Reinventing the Tattoo canon or evolution subscription. Following Monday sessions on Tuesdays at 11 a.m., we have the Tattoo Weekly with Gabe Ripley, Lauren Gregory, and Jake Meeks from the Fireside Tattoo Network, where we go through and we discuss current events in the tattoo industry. Maybe it's new laws and regulations being passed. Maybe it's new technology coming out. Maybe it's AI and how to utilize AI. There's all different topics being discussed, and that is the Tattoo Weekly with Gabe Ripley, Lauren Gregory, and Jake Meeks at 11 a.m. on Tuesdays. Following that, on Wednesdays at 12 noon, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, where we go through and we discuss a lot more of the business aspects in tattooing, whether it's advertising or getting travel visas, or maybe it's marketing, maybe it's budgeting, maybe it's talking about, taxes. Ooh, taxes. No one likes talking about taxes. Um, all of that and a lot more. A lot of the business side of tattooing is discussed. That's Wednesdays at 12 noon, the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley. And capping off the week on Thursdays at 6 p.m., we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast with Fawn Baker, where we get to go through and discuss um, any number of different topics pertaining to collecting tattoos. Maybe it's picking artists, traveling to artists, getting artists to come to you. Any number of different topics get discussed, and that is Tattoo Collecting 101 on Thursdays at 6 p.m. We do have a couple of special events coming up, both on Monday, January 29th. We have Paint Night with Renee Little, January 29th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Always a great time to go through and sit down and jam out while painting with a phenomenal painter. Always impressed with Renee's work. I can't really get enough of it, and she's absolutely phenomenal. Take a look. That's Mondays, January 29th at 6 p.m. Following Paint Night with Renee Little on Monday, January 29th at 7 p.m., we have a live interview with Anthony Tex from Deadly Tattoos in Canada. This is going to be an epic interview. You are not going to want to miss this. Anthony is a huge influence on the work that I do, and I'm very happy to be able to get him on here. As well, if any of you have any questions to ask, by all means, please, I'll be putting up my Instagram in just a little bit. Send me a message on Instagram or shoot me an email, jason@reinventingthetattoo.com, and I will be happy to ask whatever questions you might have if you cannot tune in. I would like to go through and take a minute to thank some of our sponsors and some of the people that make these shows happen. Starting off with worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. As we know, living in this post-pandemic era, sometimes events are still getting rescheduled or postponed or put off or canceled completely. So if you want the most up-to-date tattoo event information coming to a city or a town near you, or maybe it's when you plan on visiting, that's how I like to plan all of my vacations, take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Would also like to thank tattoonow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattoo artists of all levels. They are constantly keeping everything upgraded and competitive with any type of CRM, mailing list, or scheduling software out there. So if you are looking for the digital tools to help you streamline your process, maybe it's your booking process or whatever, or if you're trying to find the right software out there to reach out to your clients and keep base with them more frequently, If you are looking for the most up to date tattoo technology, take a look at tattonow.com. They have literally been in this business since before I ever thought about being a tattoo artist. They know exactly what you need to do to help your business prosper. As always, this would not be reinventing the tattoo without a very personal and heartfelt thank you to the man, the myth, and the legend, Guy Aitchison, uh, at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind reinventing the tattoo. And you can go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his biomech encyclopedia, some of his custom tutorial DVDs. I think he still has a few custom coil machines for sale. You might want to check on that though. Or countless fine art prints and even original paintings on occasion, all available at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to say a very special thank you and shout out to Amy Nichols over at the Apprenticeship Diaries. If you are a tattoo apprentice or an apprentice hopeful, take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. It is the number one resource for people that want to get a tattoo apprenticeship and or want to know what tattoo apprenticeships are like, as well as maybe you're wondering if you're in a good apprenticeship. Take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries. That will help you lay out anything you could ever possibly imagine about becoming a tattoo apprentice. As always, we ask that if you like today's show, please post a positive review on the channel. Help us get the word out. And if you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event or become a sponsor of our community, or if you're looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management at reinventingthetattoo.com. That kind of wraps it up for our intro today. We do have a rather exciting topic today. Let's see. Save. Yeah, just click save. Okay, so maybe it's not super exciting, but it's something that I know a lot of people always kind of struggle with. So it's something that I thought I would touch on today. And that's how to keep your drawings and your tattoo designs constantly creative, and how to, draw the same thing only in a different way, right? Because sometimes we get asked for the same topics over and over and over again. Maybe it's koi fish or flowers or roses or, dragons or snakes or biomech or whatever. Um, you never really quite know what you're going to get asked for, but we have noticed certain trends in this industry if you've been in it long enough. So you got to keep stuff fresh, right? I like to draw a lot of flowers. So one thing that I always try to think of is how can I put this at a different perspective? Um, and even just having certain things at different perspectives can really completely change the way something looks, right? Start thinking about whatever it is you're drawing on. Maybe you're drawing on an iPad, maybe you're drawing on tracing paper, who knows? But start thinking about things with perspective, foreshortening, and think about the surface that you're drawing on as a three-dimensional space, right? Really utilize that. That can make a world of difference in what you draw just by changing certain angles of certain things, right? Maybe maybe you get asked to do a lot of daggers, right? And typically daggers are purely vertical. Great. Awesome. Who doesn't love a nice dagger? It's great, fits in awkward spots, can look really cool depending on what's around it. But maybe you want to switch it up a little bit, right? How can you draw a dagger in a different way? Well, change the perspective that you're looking at it, right? Maybe have the point coming towards you at an incline. Maybe have the handle coming towards you. Maybe have it on like a 3/4 axis so you see part of the blade. There's any number of different ways to tweak things to really utilize perspective to really go through and help change things, right? And what that will do is that will allow us to think about things in different ways so that we can draw the same thing in a whole host of different ways, right? And that's going to keep things fresh. It's going to keep things interesting. It's going to keep things changing. It's going to keep things new and different, you know? So if all you draw is daggers or all you draw is snakes, or maybe those are just your favorite things to draw, right? Try utilizing perspective a little bit more. And I think you would be surprised at how much it'll actually change what it is you're drawing. And that tiny little bit of a change can make drawing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again really, really different every single time you draw it. Um, Once again, think about whatever surface you're drawing on as a window. This is something I was taught in art school and it's stuck with me ever since. That piece of paper that you're drawing on, it doesn't matter if it's letter paper or an iPad or whatever, that flat surface that you are drawing on is a window into a space that has light, it's got depth, it's got perspective, it's got any manner of different things, right? And that can mean a world of difference if you just change the way that you look at the surface that you're drawing on, right? Certain things are going to be coming closer to you and they're going to be bigger. That's called foreshortening. Maybe you want to change where your horizon line is or your perspective on it. Maybe it's more of a top down perspective. Maybe it's, um, maybe it's a different look or a different feel, or maybe you're looking at something from underneath. That can give a very different perspective. Say you're drawing a flower. Well, what would that flower look like really at the underside of it? Maybe with just a little bit of the top of the flower peeking out. How would that look? How could that work with whatever it is you're asked to draw? I like to utilize perspective and space quite a bit whenever I'm drawing certain things like dragons or snakes, just because by changing the way that you angle things, how big things are when they come towards you, how small they are when they move back, when you really exaggerate that, you can really utilize an entire three-dimensional space to its fullest potential to really give some things a little bit more of a dynamic composition and a dynamic design. Um, if you ever get stuck drawing things, and this happens to me a lot, right? I'll take whatever it is I'm trying to draw. Maybe it's a chrysanthemum or a rose or a snake head, right? And I'll sit down and I'll try to draw it in every possible angle I can, making each one a little bit different. Maybe I'll have one moving away from me. Maybe I'll have one coming towards me a bit more. Maybe not at like that classic three-quarter perspective. Maybe it's a little bit more forward, but it's not quite straight on. Maybe I'll rotate the head a little bit. Um, Try drawing it in as many different angles and possibilities as you can. Then find the one that you find to be the most interesting or the most different from what you're usually doing and use that. Um, it's going to make things a little bit more challenging, but that's only going to pay off in the long run, right? Because the last thing we want to do as tattoo artists, and this is coming from a number of years of experience and talking to people that have way more experience than I do, one of the things you absolutely need to do is keep things interesting. If your work gets stagnant, if it starts looking the exact same every single time, and people keep coming back to you and they want, this skull that you drew, cool, but let's change it up, right? Keep it different, keep it interesting. Um, Maybe do things at different angles or the same angle, different light source. Give it an interior light source. Give it, instead of lighting it from this way, light it from this way, light it from underneath. That always changes things up and can give things a completely different look. Um, these are just some of the things that, I've kind of found to be super, super helpful. in my time to just to keep things interesting, just to keep, you know, drawing the same thing over and over again, different, so that it's still interesting, and that's the best way I can put it. Because who wants to draw the exact same rose 10,000 times? Maybe, yeah, if you are trying to understand it and really develop your technique, totally fine, not a problem. But if you're trying to draw different things and you're trying to keep things interesting, keep things fresh, um, trying to put your own spin on certain things, utilize perspective a bit more, and I think you would be absolutely surprised at how things turn out. I'm going to throw in a little bit of AI generated background music, and I'm going to start working on another chrysanthemum. Anyone that's out there that might be watching that feels like jumping in, by all means, please feel free to. We are going to keep today's session a little bit shorter, as always. So we'll probably finish up around maybe, we'll give it a half hour and see if anyone jumps in. And if no one jumps in a half hour, then we'll kind of close it down. But I'm going to start working on trying to draw a chrysanthemum with a little bit of a different perspective to help illustrate what I just said. So let me go through. We'll start this. Nah, I don't like that. There we go. Something funky. If anyone has any comments, Creatures Cave, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you. Viola, hey, how's it going? And we will set this up so that that's ticking across the bottom of the page. And we'll come back over here in case anyone decides to join. That is going to here. Cool, boom. And perfect example of what I was talking about before. This is a little chrysanthemum sketch done by Damian Robertson up in Canada. Love his work. He's got work very similar to the Tex family. And I swear there's got to be something in the water up in Canada, because most of the Canadian artists I meet are just fantastic. I don't know. It's either that or they're like casting spells or something. I'm not even really quite sure. But they're doing something awesome up there that allows them to be very different and very awesome. So, just looking at this, I'm just taking a quick glance at it. I'm not really going to copy it. Obviously, I'm not going to trace it. I'm going to try to put my own little spin on it. But I do like some of the different things that he's got going on with the petals. And I really like the way that he utilized the space, the three-dimensional space of the paper that he was sketching on. So now that I've got a couple ideas for that, I'm actually going to go through and close that, because I know I can always pull it back up again. And just like last week, I'm going to start out with a couple of basics. Starting off with, maybe a quick sketch of, just like a circle. Just keeping things nice and loose, not really worried about it. In fact, since I have a very specific direction I want this mum to move in, I'm actually going to change where it's located on this little drawing canvas. A couple of targeting lines just to show direction where I want my center line to be. Sometimes I'll actually go through and I'll draw another one on the opposite side just to illustrate to myself where, the fact that this thing is a sphere, and how do I want that sphere to look. This center line will come across, and that will come down a little bit. This is also going to give me a good idea where the center of the base is, right? So I know that this spot here, because once again, I want to think about things in 3 dimensions. If I'm looking at this as a 3-dimensional object, I'm going to look at a single pole or a center line going through the whole thing that's going to be about there, right? Just because I know I want to keep this spherical, and that line's probably a little bit off. I'm probably a little bit off on one of my angles somewhere. So that would be around there. But, I'm not super concerned about it. I'm not super worried about it. Because I'm going to be drawing over this whole thing anyway. So that's going to be good for my base. Now let's go back to here, and I'm going to go to a little bit of a darker color. Once again, breaking everything down into basic shapes. So I'm going to draw, I want this chrysanthemum petal to be really coming towards me a bit more. This one will be back a bit further. And they're going to get progressively smaller as they move back in space, because I really want to kind of emphasize perspective in what I'm drawing to help keep things different and interesting. Maybe I'll even have like part of one cut off down here. And not for today, but then let's do one there, here, 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 here. Good. Good. This one would be a bit smaller. This one, good size. I don't want things to get too small, but sometimes they do. So for now that I've got like some individual like petals pointed out, give that one a little bit of a different spot. Switch over this a little bit less opaque, switch over to a new layer. Now I'm just going to keep things super loose, super sketchy. Just trying to trace out where these petals would be going. I'm not even worried about the interior petals just yet, because I'm going to do that on a completely separate layer in just a few minutes. So just like all flowers, well, most flower petals actually come from one centralized point where they meet the stem. Because they come from a centralized point, we're always going to want to remember where that point is and try to make sure that all of our petals that we draw go back to that center point. Because that is where they originate from on a natural flower. So as you can see, as things are moving backwards in space, they are getting a tiny bit smaller because whatever's coming towards us the most is obviously going to be the bigger shape, the bigger portion of it, just based on the law of foreshortening. Just trying to very roughly sketch out the way that a petal would kind of curl. Not really super worried about, adding any details, just keeping it nice and loose and broad. Very, very loose, just basic shapes and basic perspectives and concepts. Not really worried about too much else right now. I'm just trying to get the basics down so that I know any of the details that I add later on, I know that they will look right. Because that is ultimately the key, right? We want things to look right. And any details that we add later on, they're only going to be a benefit. But as long as we have our basic shapes, forms, and flows right, now that one's going to be a bit too big. So that's got to get shrunk down a little bit. Maybe we'll add another one here. Maybe we'll have one kind of curling in the background. Kind of mostly obscured, but just a little guy back there. Size comparison, I always want to make sure and double check that, I've got a pretty good representation of how close things are coming to me and then how big they are further away. So I want to constantly go back and reference my closest petal, which is this guy. And how big is that by comparison to these other guys in the background? Because I can't make these background guys, ones moving further away, I can't make those very big at all because they're further back in space and I really want to exaggerate the foreshortening. That does typically mean that they will be a little bit thinner. Maybe they will have a little bit more of an exaggerated curl to them. Maybe we'll do one back here. This guy will be curling over just a hair. That'll give it some nice movement. That can come down here. Just focusing on my basic shapes and basic flow. Maybe I'll have another little guy back here. Just drawing in some of these guys, more or less just as placeholders. Not even super concerned about the interior just yet. So now we'll add another layer and we'll go a little bit darker and a little bit more blue. That'll help separate out the layers. And I'm going to switch over to this guy. This is like secondary rough sketcher that I have. Making sure that I'm, just kind of sketching along. Give that a little bit more prominent top, and then a couple of ridges, center line coming down. Center line coming down. I always try to make sure that I draw those center lines. That way it keeps everything, that way it keeps me kind of balanced as far as, okay, what angle is this one at? What angle is that one at? So there's my center line for this guy. Maybe I'll come back here and I'll give this a little bit more of a sharp kind of bend as opposed to a curl. Same thing up here, center line. That'll curl around. Center line. Now, mums do typically tend to get a little confusing just because of how many elements there are. But that's okay. The more you draw them, the easier it becomes to identify what's what. I only found that out after years of drawing them and getting confused. So take it from me, it does get easier. So I'm starting out pretty big, right? This guy's a big old chrysanthemum petal coming right at you. And this is just one of many different ways that you can draw mums. Everyone's got their own little tricks that they like to use. Some people draw them more straight and angular, a little bit more sharper point. Some people tend to have them curl a bit more. Everyone's a little different. We just read this a second ago. There he is. Hey, Brad, what's up? Something super, super loose. Not really worrying about much, not erasing at all. And that's kind of the key to like keeping things loose. Stop caring about the final product and just let your hand do what it's doing. Hey, Brad.
Hey, Jason. Having a hard time with the technology today.
Yeah, we all have days like that, man. It's no worries.
It's a little tricky on my phone here too, but nice chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to have a few friends that are chrysanthemum drawing geniuses. Like, these guys make me look like I'm coloring with crayons, and they've also been drawing them way longer than I have, so I can't put myself down too much. My one friend's kind of known as the chrysanthemum king because he's so proficient at drawing them and sketching them. He doesn't even really have to think about it. He'll just put a pen down and draw a couple of little like ripples, and next thing you know, it's a petal. And I'm like, how did you do that? And he taught me a few tricks, so just trying to pass some of that on.
Yeah, I'm still pretty new to those types of drawings. They're on my list of things to study though, but the Monday night classes keep me pretty busy as it is.
Yeah, the Monday night classes are worth it, man. If you look at the stuff I was drawing a few years back, before I joined up with Reinventing the Tattoo, and you look at the stuff I'm doing now, it's not even really comparable. Like, I don't even like to post things that I did years ago just because it's like, oh man, I can do so much better than that now. I don't want people to see this. This is not an accurate representation of the work that I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's cool because you've already been an artist for I don't know your whole history, but just the fact that you can testimony that you've improved that much after joining the Reinventing group, and after you were already an artist for so long, I'm assuming.
Exactly. Well, it's always good to go back through and revisit fundamentals, and I do enjoy doing that quite frequently. It's something I've been trying to do more of this past, since January. It's one of my resolutions is to get back to some of my core fundamentals, and just try to keep things a little bit looser, and just see where things take me, as opposed to having such a strict idea on this is what I want it to look like. Um, But when I first joined up with the Reinventing group, I mean, it was like an epiphany all over again. Because years ago, I had a copy of the second edition, um, and like the second like printed book edition, and it was great. And I had like sections highlighted and like
That's cool.
took notes, and I scribbled notes in the margins. And then I was a fool and lent it to a friend of mine at a different studio, thinking, "Oh yeah, they'll take good care of it," and they didn't, and it got destroyed in a flood.
Oh,
And yeah, flood inside of a studio.
that's rough.
Yeah, go figure, right? So I kind of learned my lesson, got myself another copy a few years back, and that's been sitting on a bookshelf behind bulletproof glass. I'll take it out every now and then and wipe it down with a diaper, and gaze upon its cover and then put it right back. But I'm always looking for another copy that I can have so that I can actually scribble notes again. Just because I'm not trying to, like mark up like my pristine one. So
I was looking when I first got into the course and stuff. I was looking online to see if I could find a copy, and I didn't find any traces of it on eBay or any used ones. So seem to be pretty sought after.
Oh, they're rare nowadays, man. And if you do see them, people are asking ridiculous amounts of money for them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The last time I saw one for sale on eBay, it was going for something like $2,000.
That's crazy.
When it originally sold for $350. So
I feel like I'm like spotlighted on this Zoom call here. I'm like half the screen.
Nah, I am too. It's just
I can see your flower. I don't see you.
Yeah, my
I don't think I'm that pretty. If any viewers want to rather see your drawing.
Let's do this. Let me get back to.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
That's a little more balanced.
Now you're just picture in picture now, so we can put you up here underneath me. Oh.
I still haven't figured out on this format how to flip my camera around either. So I could,
that's a tricky one.
Not that I need to right now. I'm just working on my Monday night drawing actually.
Yeah, what are we covering this week?
So it happens to be snakes. And if you remember,
my favorite.
Yeah, you gave me a quick tutorial last week on a snake.
Oh, I can draw snakes like no one else, man. I've been drawing snakes. I spent 2 years studying them and just like trying to draw them in every way you can possibly imagine. Little tricks on scales and head perspectives and proportions and tricks to really make things look right. Because it's not that I couldn't draw them, but they never looked right. They never looked proportionate, and I always ended up drawing like, if you've seen like the typical Japanese style snake, how it's got like this monster head and then like this really, really thin body. That's the way all of my snakes looked, right? And I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. Got a hold of a few books that helped me out with a couple of different things, just getting proportions correct and, teaching me how to do scales in different ways and stuff like that. And, I spent 2 years just like studying and drawing them and drawing them and drawing them. And then when I got done drawing them, I would thumbnail them. Then when I got done thumbnailing them, I would go through and I would take a thumbnail and I would redraw it and I would blow it up. Then I'd draw it again, so it's all about just like repetition and learning through repetition.
Yeah, that's the best way to learn. I wish I was that dedicated. Right now I don't have a lot of time to do that stuff, but I do have time. then I.
That's what it takes is time. That's all it does. That's all.
But even just the small amount of time that I can do, I can definitely feel improvements. So something to be said about repetition.
Yeah, so that's something that when I was, one of the many things I got taught during my first apprenticeship was, I think we were talking about drawing roses one day, and I remember asking a guy, one of the guys that was teaching me. I was like, "Oh, hey man, how do you draw a rose? Like, I love the way that you draw your roses. Like, you just like draw them straight on there, and they look awesome. Like, what? How do you draw them? That's different from the way that I draw them." And he showed me a couple of things, and I went back to him like a week later, and I was like, "Hey man, can you show me those tricks again? Like, I've been trying it, here and there, just whenever I get the chance to sketch and whatnot, just not getting it right." And he's like, "I showed you once." He's like, you're telling me you don't have 15 minutes a day to practice that? He's like, "Take a sketchbook with you the next time you go into the bathroom and you take a dump." He's like, "Sketch while you're taking a dump, man. Find every chance available." He's like, "Because I'm only going to show you this one more time." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So so that's what I used to do. Anytime I would go and have to go to the bathroom, and take a little sketchbook in with me, and take a couple of minutes and just do a quick little sketch. And then next thing you know, it's like, not only did I pick up on those little tips and tricks, but I created some of my own to give them different looks, all from just taking 5-10 minutes a day. And granted, yeah, there were other times that I would sketch and draw throughout the day, not just when I went to the bathroom. But, it's like if you find 10-15 minutes a day to just sit down and dedicate to sketching and figuring something out, you would be surprised at how much progress you can make in a year. And all it takes is, 15-20 minutes a day.
That's speaking to me right now. It's kind of like my resolution this year to get into it. I mean, where I'm at right now is my full-time gig isn't an artist, isn't tattooing, but it's my dream. It's something I've been working on for a couple of years. And
dude, you're talking to a guy that worked for 10 years in the IT field, full time, would get done work, go to the studio, and tattoo nights and weekends. So trust me, I get it. I understand where you are coming from very, very well. My dream was always to be a tattoo artist, and I went to college for art. Don't ask me how I ended up working with computers, because I still don't know that. Like, still to this day, it baffles me that I ended up getting offered a job right when the economy went to absolute hell, and next thing you know, I'm like, yeah, this isn't for me. I'm out. Bye.
It's good to good to learn different skills, though, I guess. Backups. And
well, if it wasn't, hindsight's always 2020. If it wasn't for the fact that I worked that job, I wouldn't have the skill set that I needed to really do these videos, these podcasts. I wouldn't have, the skill set to be completely self-sufficient whenever I do them, to have a 3-camera shoot set up at my house, with a multi-video switcher, know all the back-end technology, know all the audio stuff. I wouldn't know how to go through and set any of that up, and I would be completely dependent on someone else for that. So it really did me a service when it comes down to, even just getting into stuff like this. And you never really quite know how things are going to feed off of each other later on in life. So sometimes you just got to kind of ride with it, but there's always a silver lining. And you can always find a way to take whatever it is that you are currently doing, and apply that to what you want to do later on.
Yeah, man.
So you just, sometimes it's about patience.
Yeah, if you can take something positive from all your experiences and use them to keep building yourself up, can't go wrong. And I definitely can relate to that. Like some of the skills that I've learned over the years have, you can apply it in every aspect of life, and definitely, hopefully, can apply it to tattooing in the future.
I will say there is one skill that I'm a firm believer is universally, absolutely a universally critical thing to learn, and it's something that I will advocate until the day that I die, that everyone that's out there that has learned this will succeed, and that's patience. If you can't have patience for the long run, and the only things you're thinking about are the short interim, then I'm sorry, but you got a long road ahead of you.
Wisdom.
Patience is a divine key in success. Things don't happen overnight. Rome was not built in a day, and nor was it built by a single individual.
That's what I tell myself, remind myself. Keep doing those repetitions, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. Some of these Monday night classes are like, oh man, this is like, how am I even gonna spending like 8 hours on a single exercise? And every week I tell myself like, okay, I'm gonna do something super simple. Like if this was a real tattoo client and they just wanted a small, just gonna pretend they want like a small couple hour session or something. Then I'm like doing like 8 hours on the design. I'm like, why did it get so complicated again?
Well, it gets so complicated because you're actually applying what you're learning.
Challenging myself too. A lot of it's new.
Absolutely.
Even the iPad and everything that I'm practicing it's been learning curves. So I'm definitely...
Speed comes with time.
Definitely getting faster.
Speed comes with time. Unless you are an absolute 100% prodigy in the tattoo community. There's only a handful of those that I have ever met in life. So unless you are an absolute prodigy, yeah, it takes time, it takes practice, and it takes patience.
Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely taking the long way. I heard another expression I really liked. If it comes back to me, I'll mention it. But try not to jump right into things, like especially I tried to get an apprenticeship local for what I took some of my stuff out to some shops and had a few buddies and tried that a couple times, and they weren't looking for apprentices at the time, which is all cool. So I just kind of kept going and learning and got the Reinventing group, and I got a couple other online courses, and I'm at the point where I got to the point where I'm like, I don't even think an apprenticeship could give me a better education than what I've found. And I have a few buddies that are tattoo artists who I can ask questions to and stuff, so that's been really great as well. So I'm doing like the practice skin, and listening to like tattoo podcasts. Some artists are talking about different equipments, different limitations,
and there, I will say, man, there is absolute gold out there. If you're someone that you don't mind listening to podcasts, say you're outside mowing the lawn or whatever, I throw on podcasts. Like I'll listen to everything Fireside has ever put out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll listen to what was the other one? Um, I think it's So You're Kind of a Big Deal. Is another one. Um, a lot. There are so many different tattoo podcasts that are out there that it's pretty awesome actually. I really enjoy listening to them, and I'll listen to old interviews with some of the founders of the tattoo industry. It doesn't matter, man. If it involves tattoos or tattooing in some way, shape, or form, I'll listen to it. Um, but there's a lot of really, really good information out there, along with a lot of very purposefully misleading stuff as well. So it's kind of going through and filtering out the stuff that doesn't necessarily apply, and then paying attention to the stuff that really does apply, that's really kind of universal. So you got to kind of be careful, but there is a lot of great information that's already out there. But I'll tell you what I've told other people in the past when it's come down to getting an apprenticeship. And I've had a lot of different people ask me about stuff dealing with apprenticeships before. Um, and I always turn around and I ask them a series of questions, just to see where their mindset is at. Um, but I'll flat out ask them. I said, okay, cool. So you stopped by one time and you asked them if they were looking for an apprentice. They said no, and you left. Well, was that your first time in the studio? Well, if they said yes, well, it's like, okay, why haven't you gone back? Well, they said they weren't looking for an apprentice. So, doesn't mean that you can't go there and ask their opinions on art, designs, sketches. Uh, invest your time into getting these people's opinions, because these people are already doing what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Get their opinions, get their ideas, figure out what you need to work on, and build that kind of a relationship with them. I mean, hell, get tattooed. You're definitely going to learn more if you get tattooed.
Yeah, for sure. And that's how I
So,
got a lot of my tattoo buddies, just from
absolutely.
hanging out at the shop and getting it. Yeah, when I went in to speak to them about an apprenticeship, I guess I didn't really go ask them, because I thought that's kind of going in and asking for stuff can put up, boundaries right away.
It's immediately going to put up a wall. However, I will say this. So when I was coming up in the industry, I went through 2 apprenticeships. I never asked for either one of them. They were offered, because I literally made myself indispensable for that studio. I would come in and I would hang out and I would just draw. And I would get all of the artists' opinions on what can I do to make this better? What can I do to make this more tattooable? What can I do to make this a more desirable design? And I would be there 2-3 times a week, just hanging out, picking their brains about art and design so that I could work my way into even just drawing designs for people that wanted to get tattooed. I eventually got to that point, and I think it was like a week or 2 after that, the owner turned around to me and he's like, so here's the deal. You want to learn how to tattoo? We'll teach you how to tattoo. And I was like, okay.
Nice.
And I didn't even have to ask for it. It happened. All because I invested time. And investing your time is probably, and I've talked about this too on the Apprenticeship Diaries podcast with Amy Nichols.
I've listened to that one too.
When you invest your time, that is the most precious thing that we have in life. So the more time that you're willing to put in to investing into that location, into those artists, the better your chances are going to be that they're going to turn around and offer you what it is you're looking for.
Yeah, I feel like those are really good tips for someone who's looking for an apprenticeship. I feel like things have changed since COVID and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel for people that are trying to get an apprenticeship and struggling right now, because you can't have those extra people at the shop, or at least back when everything shut down. So that was another barrier that I was facing. Right now, I'm not actually looking actively, but my strategy prior was to just kind of go in and ask people if they had a minute to check out some of my art and give me any feedback, and everyone was open to that, and everyone checked out my
Oh,
stuff,
absolutely.
gave me some feedback, met some people, and I even came really close to getting a couple apprenticeships. So I was working it.
Yep, and that's what you got to do. It's anytime anyone asks at the studio I work at if we're looking for an apprentice, the immediate answer is no. Every single time without fail, the answer is no. And if they turn around and they walk out the door, well, then there goes a very lengthy conversation, right? Because we're not necessarily always ever looking to bring people into the fold. But if you work your way into it, if you take that time and you invest that time and you just want to get better at drawing tattoos, and you get to that point where the stuff that you're putting out is good enough that we don't want you going anywhere else, then you're getting a job.
Yeah, that's cool. It's a good way to look at it.
But it's about persistence. Are you going to stick with it? Are you not going to take no for an answer? That was a big part of it.
I had some good tips, and one guy that I went back to a couple times, he I was always bringing in like bigger portfolio pieces, and he said, what would be good, I think, for you is to draw some more flash, like some smaller tattooable designs. That's what shops want to see. I'm like, yeah, that's a really good tip.
Yeah, small little banger stuff, man. That stuff can do the trick very easily. I as well started out sketching and drawing like back pieces and torsos and stuff like that. And, I had to be redirected quite a few times with that. They were like, listen, when you start out, you're not going to be drawing back pieces. You're going to be doing like flash, small stuff. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the one thing with the Reinventing course that I kind of was like, I mean, it's really awesome challenge on the Monday night classes, but some of them are like back pieces, and I'm like afraid to tell everyone that I'm not really a tattooer. I'm like, guys, can we just do like some small flash?
Well, you never know until you try. But at the same time, it can be very intimidating if you're just getting into that. There we go. That's the one I'm looking for. Well, it can be kind of intimidating, but all of the base principles are there, and that's essentially what they want you to do is figure out those base principles.
Way better practice for the techniques that they're trying to teach too, like obviously lighting and flow, and it's hard to implement all these special effects on some small like traditional style stuff.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's going to be really, really difficult to work small and implement everything because you're working with a much more limited space. And there's only so much you can do in a given area until you're like, oh, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? Or, even exaggerating certain things can really be helpful. Actually, why did I even start inking this? I'm not at that point yet. Yeah, sometimes I do things and I don't know why I do them. Let's do...
Oh, you got some music. Did you have music last week?
No, I didn't. I just saw and noticed that the program we use to stream has this like AI music generator. So I thought I'd give that a shot today. and just see how it goes with like a little bit of something in the background. But it's AI generated, so it's all royalty free stuff.
Yeah, why not?
So we don't have to worry about YouTube shutting us down for copyright infringement, because they will, and they have before. And they have Instagram, YouTube, all of that will shut you down in a heartbeat if they detect any kind of copyrighted music in the background. So this day and age with like broadcasting and stuff like that, kind of have to be a bit more picky with it. You have to make sure that you have the right to use it, or that it's like AI generated.
Hard to keep up with all the technology. Crazy.
Oh, it absolutely is, man. Technology is the biggest blessing and the biggest curse. I was even talking to a coworker of mine the other day about AI and AI generated images, and what's their perspective on it, and they broke some stuff down for me, and it took me like a full 2 days to process the information this guy was throwing at me. He's like, there are a lot of really, really big name artists out there using AI to generate images, um, you know, outside of just inspirational stuff. There are guys out there literally posting up AI generated concepts that they want to tattoo, and they're getting a lot of clients based off of it. And I was like, dude, that's mind blowing. And he pulled up specific examples too. And that it made me kind of sad. But I sometimes it is hard to pull up new concepts, new ideas, new fundamentals, new ways to do the same concepts over and over again. That's kind of why I wanted to touch on that topic for today's session, was just to try to help spark people's ideas with other stuff. Get a concept together, change a perspective on something, light something differently. Utilize your foreshortening, utilize your perspective a bit more, to change up whatever it is you're drawing. Say you normally do a 3/4 view dragon head, switch it up. You do an under view dragon head, do a top down dragon head, do a top down tiger head. That would be different. Just by changing that, you can change things and draw things in a different way. You don't always necessarily have to utilize something like AI in order to come up with a new concept. I mean, it can be helpful, don't get me wrong. I've played around with it a little bit for inspirational stuff, but when it comes down to it, I don't think I could ever just generate something on AI and then post it up for grabs. It's just not who I am.
I feel like, yeah, you kind of just feel like it's cheating or something. I don't know.
It is, but it isn't, because those are images that have never existed before, right? AI is literally creating artwork for people, and that's fine. It's original works. You're not going to get the same thing ever again, which is cool. And, maybe it's good for a different way to look at something or a different type of inspiration. But when it comes down to it, I'm one of those people where I would just prefer to draw my own thing. And, maybe it looks kind of similar to something someone else has drawn, but it's still going to be drawn my way and my style with my elements that I like to utilize. And that's what's going to make it mine and what's going to make it unique. And there are a lot of great artists out there like Steve Moore, James and Anthony Tex, Phibbs, any Sean Cousin, Rob Halford, all these guys. They're drawing stuff literally from their mind. Oh, Shane Ford's another great one. They're drawing stuff from their mind that you will never see AI generate. because their style is so unique and so distinctive that AI could never mimic it, right? And I think that's ultimately the goal of a lot of tattoo artists out there, is to put their own fingerprint on things so that no matter what it is that they draw, it's going to be uniquely and distinctly theirs. Now, you have tattooers that are out there that are maybe they only like to tattoo realism stuff, and so it doesn't necessarily matter if what they're coming up with is, completely unique, because they're essentially, doing something that's realistic, so they need a photograph. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be distinctive, because they're literally working off of photographic images. And that's fine. You do you. If that's what you enjoy doing, cool. But I would rather, personally speaking, I would rather get tattooed by someone that has drawn something by hand that never existed before than to go through and have someone use AI to generate an image that is based off of something more realistic. That's just my own personal 2 cents on it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with people that use AI, or that there's something wrong with people that use it to generate, concepts. But it's always going to have that kind of AI fingerprint, and it's not going to have a real artistic signature, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely makes sense that it would be super useful to generate reference images or help if you're having a hard time finding a specific reference image. But even just for this Monday night, my friend, I was talking to him on the phone. He was like, man, I'm playing with this AI thing. Like, it's super cool. I'm like, really? Can you generate me a picture of a snake shedding its skin for the, so he sent me a text with it in, and it's like, oh yeah, it didn't really capture like the shedding the skin part and the snake itself. It was cool. It generated the snake with like 2 heads, and the body, the way that it displayed the snake's body was in like donuts. So like the body was connected in rings. So it was like the anatomy was kind of flawed.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I can see where the AI maybe made a mistake there. I mean, maybe it's cool if you interpret it in a different way, but I can see what you mean maybe about the AI fingerprint.
Yeah, there's always going to be an aspect of it, to me, that is, you should be able to tell. I mean, sometimes you can't. More power to you. And if you've got an AI generator that's that good, by all means, let me know what it is. But to me, there's always going to be an aspect of it that's non-human, because it is the flaws that we have in certain things that almost act like a fingerprint. But if you're using AI to generate an image, it's never going to have that kind of a fingerprint.
There's like the whole NFT crypto world too, and I can definitely see people just like pumping out AI images and trying to sell them as NFTs, and like the whole
absolutely,
the whole market gets just like so flooded so quick. Like, yeah.
Now, I was never a person that bought into the NFT craze. It just was never something. I understand the need for it in the age of digital artwork, because digital artwork in and of itself is a digital file. Digital files can be reproduced. Digital files can be copied. Digital files can be distributed and then redistributed and then redistributed and then redistributed. So there's no way to really say that you own this one unique piece of one thing, because there's no tangible physical property to the artwork that you're creating. It's a digital file. Because of that, I understand the need to have NFTs, right? Because if I come up with a digital sketch or a drawing or whatever, and I sell the rights to it to one person, and it's not an NFT, who's to say that I can't turn around and airdrop it to my friend for free? You know what I'm saying? Because I still have the original file. I still have all of the access to everything that I created. It's not like I'm making an oil painting and I'm selling an oil painting, because there's nothing physical. There's nothing tangible that's there. So in order to go through and put like a tangible aspect to something, you have to have some way to authenticate it as being original, as being the only one of this ever. People can still rip off a design. People can still go through and, distribute, take a screenshot or whatever it is, but it will never be the original because it doesn't have an NFT attached to it that says that this is the one, the only, and the original of this work of art. So they can do that, but it's going to have a lot lesser value. So like I said, I did understand the concept behind the NFT craze. I just never got into investing into it because it just wasn't something that I ever wanted to invest in, I guess.
Probably a good choice, since most of them lost their value. But if there's a few that are still holding well, a few projects, and I'm a little bit into that space, but no, I'm not into really, I don't have any NFTs. I just looked into the space a little bit. But yeah, I definitely get the concept of it. In the digital age, it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's just so much harder to make something hold its value because of everything's so oversaturated in the digital space. Same kind
absolutely.
of for creating like a social media platform or everything. Well, now everybody can make a YouTube channel, and what's going to make you stand out and stand the test of time, or your artwork for that matter. I heard of
exactly.
I don't know if this is a real thing or not, but like imagine like getting a tattoo and then you would own the digital artwork as an NFT representing that tattoo. I don't know if that's a thing.
I think Jesse Smith is doing that. Jesse Smith from Loose Screw Tattoo. I could be wrong, but I know he started to really dive into the NFT world for a while, and I know that some of his clients, he would actually give them he would generate and create an NFT for their specific tattoo design, and that was part of getting tattooed by him. Was you not only got an original tattoo done by Jesse Smith, which in and of itself, in my opinion, is priceless, but he also gave you the NFT to prove that yours is the original and the only one out there. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Cool. Well, I'll probably doodle around with this a little bit later on. We are at about that time. Let's see. Brad, thank you very much for joining us. OR Ink Tattoo, thanks. I just saw your comment. Apologize for getting back to you so late there. But I did want to wrap up. So I'm going to go ahead and say au revoir to everyone. Thank you guys very much for tuning in today. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And thank you for watching. As always, keep those hands busy. Keep challenging yourself. Try some different perspectives and things. Keep things interesting. Keep things different. Keep your hands moving. And I will see everyone again for next week, episode 140, here on Skill Building Mondays with Jason Leeser. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me today. Always appreciated. And catch everyone next week.
Thanks, Jason.
Take care, everyone.